when you're asleep, you think things will just happen to you. Opportunities will just create itself. Well, it doesn't.
Some people will tell you they have all the answers, but very rarely there's someone who knows you hold the answers. Get ready.
Your life is a masterpiece that you create a stroke at a time.
It's time to jumpstart your life with Silva. Now, here's your host, Silva.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Power Femininity Show, where we explore various tools and techniques to jumpstart your life and release the greatness within you. I'm your host, Silva. Today, we're going to be talking about something that's really important. We're going to talk about the ABC of divorce. Prepare yourself. It's unfortunate sometimes we do have to go through divorce, but if you're about to go through that, it's important to prepare yourself. My special guest for today is Mona Marcos, that I have been so looking forward to speak with for over the last couple of years. She's the founder and CEO, Women Divorce Resource, to help divorced, widowed, and single women as they transition in life and geared to be self-sufficient socially, economically, and financially, primarily in the Glendale community area and the surrounding. But I'm sure you can get to her through emails. And let's welcome Mona. Hello, Mona. So happy to have you on the show. We have a great deal to share, and you've got something important to share with women out there. You know, I've gone through divorce, and I know how heartbreaking it was. I didn't just do it once, I did it twice. But it's important that we prepare for it. And guidance is necessary. So, and especially so you can understand that, you know, there's things that you need to even prepare before you even embark on the journey of going through the divorce process. And that's what the amazing Mona is going to be talking to you about. Tell us a little bit about you, Mona, and then we'll go through all the highlights and the points that you want to share with women or men out there.
Well, like you, Silva, I went through a divorce too, and apparently my ex now was preparing for it, and I didn't know. So when I took the steps, I found myself, he had cleaned me out and was very, very well prepared to show that he is broke and he has nothing. And I walked away after 20 years of marriage with absolutely nothing and I had to start from scratch. But I quickly realized that I was blessed with parents that helped me, that supported me. I had a place to go, and my parents paid for my expenses. Otherwise, I probably would have been homeless or looking for a shelter, which I didn't even know existed at the time. That built a passion for me to help any other woman that's going through or might be facing that or thinking about that, and let her know, that you need to be prepared. It's not something, and I'm actually helping a friend right now going through that. Because when you decide to take that move, sometimes you're forced into it, and sometimes you're just like, okay, enough is enough, and you just don't even, you're like, okay, I'm doing this, it's enough, I'm walking out. And that's what happened to me. So you don't really prepare, but it's better to prepare and know where you're going to go, how you're going to support yourself, where you're going to live, and all these things, that it's not just a matter of finding a divorce attorney, but you need to think of the days and months and years to come and how you're going to, especially if you have kids, where you're going to live with them, schools, all of that.
You know, you mentioned something important, because I think preparing for divorce is not just finding an attorney. You actually need to prepare yourself mentally, socially, spiritually, physically, financially. So what are some of the steps that you advise your clients and friends before they embark on the divorce?
Well, it will be awesome if the two parties can sit down and have an agreement that, you know, agree to disagree, the best way to do this. Sometimes there is that agreement, sometimes. Of course, it takes a counselor or family therapist to reach that agreement, but that would be ideal. But, of course, the reality is, no, somebody's bitter and they don't want to cooperate. But let me at least make sure that you have a savings account, because obviously the minute you decide there is going to be a divorce, the clock starts ticking as far as your financials and your financially liability. and he stops getting access to half of what you have the date you agree to divorce. So it's not the date you file for papers, but it's the date you agree to separate. So you want to make sure that if you have, things that belongs to you personally, that you set you check your checking account and your banks and all of that, and make sure that you protect your personal assets if you have any before you file, because then he gets half of whatever. So, and like I said, that's what he did to me. He took my half. He cleaned everything. He cleaned the bonds, the box, the savings, the lock box. He cleaned everything and claimed there's nothing, and then it's hard to prove. Once I take everything out, it's hard to prove. So make sure you protect your financial assets, and then see if you can go to mediation, because that saves a lot of money. Instead of you getting an attorney, he gets an attorney, and then you're fighting in court. That drains your finances and runs a bill really, really fast. And courts right now are not taking a lot of divorce cases, so they send you to mediation anyway. So just save yourself some aggravation and just go to mediation and see if you can resolve everything that way, and that saves you a lot of attorney fees. So that's really the new trend right now.
Are you suggesting that it's best to file for legal separation or just define the separation date?
Define your separation date, because I asked an attorney about that, and he said it's not about the date you actually filed the papers in court, but it's the date you agreed to be separate. And you could, even if you're living in the same household, but you agreed to live your own separate life, and, nowadays, because things are expensive, a lot of couples live in the same house, but they have agreed to go their own separate, and it's a matter of time where they physically separate. So that becomes your date of separation.
Right.
But I'm talking also about from a legal steps, if you're going to actually file, see if you can go to a lawyer that does mediation, because then he will sit and draw all the papers and come to, then he prepares everything and takes it to the judge, and that saves you a lot of time and money doing a mediation instead of two attorneys fighting each other in court.
That's, of course, if you have a willing or cooperative party on the other side.
Yes, but not necessarily, because you can still do mediation even if they are not willing to cooperate. It's just a matter if they're both willing to go see the attorney together and let the attorney negotiate between them. So you don't have to be buddy-buddy or, but at least the one lawyer versus two that will, go through your assets and separate everything. So that saves you on.
I think that's very important, yes. So, but you talk about mediation and all that, but what about a financial plan? What about like insurance and all blah, blah,
blah,
blah?
Yes, exactly.
There's just so much.
And that's exactly
why. How do you deal with all that?
Yes. Women most of the time don't think about all these areas, and that's what really prompted me to create Women Divorce Resource, because the first logical step is like, where can I find an attorney? Okay, and then we know there is a dime a dozen, of course. It's a matter of finding a good one. So trusting the person you're talking to is number one. But then, you don't think, okay, what about insurance? He's going to be so mad, he's going to take me off the policy. Do I have car insurance? Do I have health insurance? So you obviously need to speak to an insurance professional to help you, make sure you're properly covered. But, so depending on how you're covered currently, and that's going to take a turn of its own. Also, like you said, do you have enough money? Have you been working? A lot of times you lose your job or you're dependent on him and you don't work, so what are you going to do for a living? If you live in a house, who's going to keep it? Can you afford the mortgage, or do you have to move to an apartment? And does that mean the kids change school? So there's all these areas. Retirement. If you were working, does he get half your retirement money? You might think you had a lot of money, but you don't now, because he's going to get half of it. And if you haven't been working, can we help you find, you want a job, do you want a career, what you're going to do? So you need to, be prepared that way before you make that step. Also, taxes. Don't trust his CPA to do your taxes, because he's probably his buddy and he's going to help him out. Now you need to file your own separate return. Even husband and wife, sometimes it's better to file separately. Depends on the situation. So you need to find another trusted CPA that will help you, give you financial advice, and make sure you get have to return. If he's filing separately, you're still entitled to half of that. Do you need a good real estate now to help you find the most inexpensive apartment or help you sell the house or lease a condo or whatever? So we have specialists that can help you that have been to real estate. Keith is happens to get a lot of experience in women going through divorce. I don't know how he attracts them, but a lot of his clientele are women that are moving due to a divorce. And then, of course, 90% of us have never been through this before, so the paperwork and it gets overwhelming, and if your finances are limited, we even have what's called a divorce concierge that can help you with a divorce concierge. It's something actually new, and it's, again, sometimes your needs help you think. It's a lady that went through divorce herself, and she realized, oh, my gosh, all this paperwork, and how do I file for a restraining order, or how do I file for, something simple as a legal separation, or so she realized that most women are going to need that help, and especially if you're working full-time, you don't have time to prepare all this. She would actually take you just give her all your records, and she will help you navigate through all that paperwork.
And because having been gone through it myself and how I created my success, because in most cases when you're going through divorce, you're so angry at him because now he took everything. He's got everything going, and now you're left with nothing. And a lot of the women tend to focus and dwell on that instead of focusing on how they can create the success on their own.
It takes your personal experience to help you figure out ways to help other women, like our financial planner. She also went through a divorce, and she realized women going through need a lot of help with that. So most of the people that on our professional team have been through a divorce, so they understand the need, and they know exactly what, a person going through a divorce, or also a widow. A friend of ours, his mother became a widow, and her husband took care of everything, paid the bills, and does everything. So now, oh my gosh, she doesn't know where to find anything or what to navigate through all of that. Any woman that is single that needs, I shouldn't say any, but I mean mostly it's sudden change in status, which was mostly divorce and widow, then now what you do and how you can get yourself back on track. Or if you've never worked and now you need to support yourself, so can we help you find a career? There is a lot of help and like you said, the most important thing now is start focusing on yourself instead of trying to find revenge, which that will take care of itself.
Right. That's what I find. A lot of the women that I work with, they're so upset and they want revenge, and I say, you're just wasting energy there. I mean, the best revenge in life is to live well. So just be well. Just do your own thing.
Yes. And so along those lines, we also have a divorce recovery coach and, of course, a mental health professional, so that can help you navigate through your feelings and help you get back on track with life and focus on you, your kids, your future, and get your not just financially but emotionally and spiritually and back on track. And a lot of women, of course, have because of abuse, like my friend that I'm helping right now. So that's another passion. Abuse, of course, is not just physical, but also could be financial, emotional. There is a lot of abuse. Women sometimes think if it's not physical, it's not abuse, but certainly I did not have physical abuse. I had financial abuse, verbal abuse, mental abuse, all other kinds of abuse. And so that's another area where I'm passionate about, trying to help women that are going through that, which unfortunately you can't solve it because men are stubborn, so there you go. You end up with divorce.
I went through all of the abuses, the physical, the mental, the psychological, the financial. I mean, he just took everything out. And I wasn't married a long time. But it's important to also realize that you don't have to put up with it. You have to get out. If they don't communicate with you, if there's no hope, then it's important to get out. Now, do you find older generation going through divorce have a much harder time than the newer generation, the younger generation?
Absolutely. And that's because the older generation, ladies are in their 40s and above, but 50s and 60s, have tend most of their life to either depend on the men for everything, or not work, or they don't have a leadership role. They're not in charge of things. This younger generation, like I'm looking at my daughters, one is a DA and one, is an insurance. They build their own careers. They are stable financially, at least, and much better equipped to handle a change like that than the older women. At least from a career perspective, they do, and they have a support system. So yes, that definitely a bigger need for the baby boomers, as we call them. Definitely a bigger need for them. I'm sure that Women Divorce Resource will not be hardly as needed for the younger generation, because they also have friends that are in all these different areas, and they're going to get almost instantly the advice, oh, have you thought of this, have you thought of that? So yeah, they are much savvier generation, and if they're going to get divorced, it's not going to be after, my case, 20 years of marriage. They're not going to put up with stuff, so they're going to be out much faster. So the damage and the needs are much less. So yes, very well point. I'm glad you're thinking. I mean, your thought process is similar as mine. I thought, all of these much bigger needs for the baby boomers, by all means. The thing is, it's the hardest part is to get the word out, let people in the community know, because it's not something you don't go, if you're insurance or real estate or whatever, you go market yourself as such a professional. But strictly a referral, if you have you're going to know, you need to know about. So if you have a friend, you had a relative, you have any, like this friend I'm helping, I was at church telling her updating her about what I'm doing, because her husband is actually the priest's right-hand man. And after I finished telling her, she took me to the side. She goes, "I need you." I was like, "What?" That was a total shocker.
It's interesting. When I walked out of my marriage with zero money, I went into real estate. I started selling real estate and created my success, and that killed him. He hoped that, one of his lines to me was, when I said, "Well, there's no money, you took all the money out," he goes, "Well, now you have no choice. You have to come back." I'm like, "Really? That's the best thing you could have said to me." So now I share that experience, and I try. You can get through this, but you need to go through the paperwork. You got to do the right thing, have the right support team around you, and then I can help you get to the next level and create your success. And stop focusing on him. He's not important anymore.
Yeah, mine is broke, but his way was, he's still trying to manipulate the kids against me to this day.
That is the worst thing they could do.
Yes, but, he thinks he's getting to me. He's really messing up the kids and the grandkids. Could you imagine when your grandson looks and says, "How come these two are not talking to each other?" I'm like, wow.
That's so sad. That's the whole education program, I mean, that should also be part of the divorce, and to teach the kids and to teach to each party is like, whatever you have to say it to one another, but don't turn the kids against one another, because, hey, would you like it if it was the other way around? But I'm not going to attack men, but men. And women are guilty of this, too. I've seen women do it, and it's just unnecessary.
Yeah, I try to make peace with him, and he goes, he thinks it's for my benefit. I was like, can't you see that you're putting our kids through all this, and they have to choose sometimes between who do we invite to the party, mom or dad? I mean, that is sad.
Right.
But,
that is very sad.
Yeah, but, that's what I'm saying.
That's their control.
Yeah, exactly. It's his way of being in control of the situation. So divorce, in my mind, doesn't really solve. It just creates another mess, another set of problems. It doesn't solve anything. That's why the best thing is to try to work through it in a friendly way if possible. And some couples have, which is good for them, because they see the kids are at stake here.
What important tools or steps that you can share with the audience that will help them with their transition?
I think you said it already, Silva, by focusing on themselves. It's really hard. It's easier said than done. But I think the day I moved out, I didn't look back. So it was all about me and the kids moving. Once I made that decision, I did not look back, not for a second. It was about me and about the kids and protecting my best interest. I wasn't really trying to seek revenge as much as I was trying to say, okay, now I need to move on with my life. Like you said, try to recreate my career, my life, and gain my kids. And I would say, please don't, if there is a tug of war about the kids, because there was, my mistake was I didn't fight for the kids in court, and he took that as like, see, your mother doesn't care about you. All she cares about is to have fun and enjoy her life. So there is really, I don't think there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. Yeah, you need to just see what's the best. I try to put my kids' best interest in mind, and I did not want to put them in court and have them choose between me and him. It took me 10 years to get my kids back, unfortunately, because he used that to say, he, Mom, doesn't care about you. And I paid him alimony. Not too many women that go through divorce do that. Usually they get the alimony, but I paid him alimony. And I did it because he had the house, he had the kids, so the money I was paying was to help to pay the mortgage because he was broke and he was barely making it, and I was the breadwinner at the time. So I did it for their benefit. But again, he used all that against me. And I tried to take some with me in an apartment, and, he said, no, the school. I mean, he used everything in the book. You schools, can't move because of schools. So just try to save the kids. Try to save the kids and spare the kids, because my kids are still suffering to this day from the trauma they went through because of the divorce.
How can the audience listen to you and get to you directly?
So email me, monamarcos@att.net. But either way, you'll get to me, and then we give a 1-hour free consultation to anybody that reaches us to try to help them see what they need, and then we refer them, obviously, to the professional that can help them the most, depending on what their urgent need is.
I want women to hear what you have to say and listen to what your message is. Jumpstart their life. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much, Silva, for having me.
Take care. I hope that today's show inspired you in some way, or perhaps it opened your mind to new possibilities. Never give up on your dreams. Until next week, remember to live life through passion.